Hi, it's Anne-Marie from Charmed Live Therapy again. Please do hit like and subscribe if you enjoy my content, and share it if you can too. I talk a lot on here about things to do with my business, which is a Rapid Transformational Therapy practitioner, and also other forms of hypnotherapy, but I also just talk about anything that kind of affects self-esteem or larger things in the world, or things you might witness in your world and wonder what that is all about, which is kind of why the Justin Baldoni legal drama with Blake Lively and her husband surrounding the movie It Ends With Us kind of really appeals to me. And I kind of touch on a little bit of what like some of the mommy and daddy sleuths are finding out for themselves, if you like. But I also just chip in and tell you my own thoughts about the feelings maybe that are driving a lot of this. I think it's important. I kind of try to bear in mind all the time, kind of not to descend into cruelty when we're talking about this situation, and not descend into name calling. And because what I do notice is there's a lot of people that I really enjoy that are covering this situation. People like Popcorn Planet, Melanie King, Candice Owens, Dave Neal. There's so many good ones. But just every so often, I just feel like people let themselves down a little bit because they get a little bit personal about it. Like when you're talking about what somebody's head looks like, the shape of them, what the figure is like. It's just that human thing of just descending into a tiny touch of cruelty. And my feeling about all of this is that these things happen in life for you to learn something from it. So to me, this, as I've talked about in previous videos, this whole situation is like sticking up a big mirror and asking us what we're going to learn from it. And part of it is not to trust what you're told necessarily, to make your own mind up. So politically and in the media and all the rest of it, be aware all of the time that people are attempting to steer you in certain directions, and it's important to make up your own mind. But what I did kind of want to touch on, which kind of just struck me today when I was looking at the photos from, I believe, the London premiere for Blake's new movie, Another Simple Favour. And it just hit me today. I wonder if this is what this is about. And it's only really struck me in the last few months, really, just kind of, and probably because a lot of commentators are pointing it out about Blake Lively's looks, that I'm not really kind of looking at the way she looks, but I am looking at the way she's dressing, and kind of actually now I'm looking at it, I can see like a history of it going back. But I think it's more glaringly obvious at this recent London premiere for Another Simple Favour, where you've got Anna Kendrick in the pictures in this very simple, what looks like a red two-piece with, I don't know if there's any jewellery, it's minimal if it's there, just like a waistcoat type thing and a skirt and high heels. And even in her highest heels, she's like only up to like Blake Lively's waist when Blake Lively wears heels. But what's interesting about Blake Lively in this scenario, and we're told she styles herself, we don't know, I'm sure she gets input sometimes, but it's kind of an over-the-top look. And that kind of made me think, oh, I wonder if this is a thing. Because the thing is, when you look at that look, she's in a Chanel two-piece, or we presume it's all Chanel. There's an elaborate Chanel bag, which in itself is quite weird, because when it tends to be these photo ops, you might get a star on a red carpet, have a clutch bag or something like that, but it's very rare to get somebody with a handbag with a strap on when it comes to one of these photo calls. And she's done it like at least 2 times now, if not more. It's like become another thing, which is kind of interesting, because so she's got this Chanel two-piece on that is black with like some I don't know if it's cream or gold band, some kind of yellow banding on it, and this elaborate bag and these black ties and these these really long high boots, and then she's got an elaborate 60s hairdo with a bouffant and things like that. So what I'm not saying here is criticizing the way she looks in a way. What is interesting is the amount of stuff that she's piled on herself. There's no sense of paring it down. She's got elaborate rings on, she's got a watch on as well as other jewellery on her wrist, she's got this elaborate handbag, she's got the boots, the black tights, the elaborate hairdo. I don't even know if there's a bow at the back of her head. There looks to be something that's black at the back of her head. And this is interesting. I'm no fashion critic, but what I want you to kind of notice is the idea of needing more stuff. She's wearing just about as much stuff as you can get. And the thing is, it's kind of not even a spring look to me. It's like we're in spring here. All right, it still can be a little bit chilly, but such a black ensemble was quite startling, I think. But the thing about when you need more stuff on you, because to kind of say it kindly, she is a bit little like a Christmas tree in this thing, and I don't mean that as a nasty slur on her, but there's just so much stuff on her, there's so much detail. And the thing is, when you can't kind of pare it down, when you put one thing on and you need more, and you need another thing, and a thing on here and a thing on there, and something going on there, that's when you don't feel enough. It can be a really good indicator of low self-esteem when you need more and more baubles. Because if you feel enough inside, you don't need a lot of stuff. It's fine to own a lot of stuff, but you certainly wouldn't feel like you needed to wear it all at the same time, I don't think. You know what I mean? When you're secure in yourself, you don't need a lot of baubles, or you certainly don't need to wear all of them at the same time. So I found that really interesting today, because my thing all along has been a lot of this with Blake Lively, although it may not come across as that to a casual observer, is that a big part of it is a sense of low self-esteem and insecurity. And I feel that is why she kind of babbles along a lot as well. She's kind of not leaving room for a question that might be hard to answer. She talks so much so that it's almost like she's pre-prepared, so that she's got these things in her mind that she's rehearsed that she can say and babble out, and it'll take up so much space that there's no room for real questions, which is kind of what Ryan does with his humour too, her husband Ryan Reynolds. But yeah, I kind of, once I sort of really clocked this Chanel outfit the other day, I kind of went back and looked at other outfits, and it's like, if you look at the one that was at South by Southwest, where she had to do the big reveal of taking off the outer layer, so it was like a dress upon a dress, and the top dress was masquerading as a coat, and again an elaborate hairdo and all the rest of it. It's like there has to be something special about it. There has to be a ta-da. She can't just stand in her own orbit, if you like, and just, like Anna Kendrick's there. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Anna Kendrick, but you can see she's just stood there, and the only thing that seems to be making her uncomfortable is the proximity to Blake Lively, unfortunately. Other than that, she's just a tiny person. She's only little, isn't she, and quite fragile looking, but she's there. She wears very little adornment or anything like that, which could be a style choice, but it could just be that she's comfortable in her body and comfortable with herself, so she knows her body, she knows her frame, she doesn't need a ton of things on it. The Chanel look for Blake, to me, the other day, was like a kid dressing up, like an insecure kid that had raided mummy's closet and put on anything and everything that she could get her hands on. Because to me, not as somebody that's a stylist, but it just looked a lot to the eye, and it looked awkward and uncomfortable and a lot to fiddle with, and a lot, like to have to keep control of the bag on your shoulder and to be photographing it from the right angle, and maybe that's her saying, look, Chanel is backing me, here I am in top to toe Chanel, Chanel loves me. I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of that, but she always, if you look, wears a lot of those big rings. She likes her big jewels, and it kind of made me look at other outfits like the South by Southwest one, and even back to the Met Gala, and there was that beautiful elaborate dress, I think it was styled to do with I nearly said the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty. You know, it was a completely two-tone dress, so it kind of unravelled and became an entirely different colour. And I remember looking at that so much because it was fascinating how it was done, you know, when the guys came along and unpinned it all and unravelled it all. But now I'm looking back at it and thinking, is it all that it has to be bigger than everyone else? It has to be more gaudy than everybody else. It has to have more bells and whistles than everybody else in order to cover up for something that's lacking within. It's people that don't feel good enough inside. They will always need more of things, and sometimes that will show up in the form of addictions. You need more alcohol, more drugs, more sex, more food. It can stem from that feeling of not feeling good enough inside. And with Blake, you know, she has had kind of what we're told was quite a privileged upbringing in terms of her parents were in the industry. There was no lack of money. You know, her way was paved, if you like, but that in essence kind of made it that she had to make up stories in order to be interesting and valid, because she had no difficulties of her own, really. You know, she's made up, well, we assume they must be made up because they're quite elaborate, these wild stories about being arrested by the Disney police at 6 years old, you know, and being taken away and held with a brother somewhere, you know, and it's like, well, where is the parents in this scenario? Because the brother wasn't that much older, you know, and getting onto the show choir at school when she couldn't sing and couldn't dance, and intimating that her parents had made that happen. But we've had it time and time again, these wild stories, or she's embellished or fooled people. It's like how she got Ryan's Aviation gin brand into the first Simple Favour movie by saying, you know, they were looking for a gin brand because there was a big thing about cocktails in the movie. And she kind of presented Aviation gin as it was a friend's gin and she enjoyed it and this, that and the other, but it turns out it was a husband's gin brand. So it's very, very calculated, and she actually used that movie to promote Aviation gin, you know, in a very visible way. And it's what she did with It Ends With Us too, you know, used that. And it's that thing of, you cannot go through your life manipulating and cajoling and making up stories and dressing in top to toe, dripping in stuff in order to cover up a lack of internal awareness and internal security and all of the rest of it. You can't hide it beneath subterfuge and beneath stories and beneath gaudy jewels and layers of clothing that you peel off to show something else underneath, because what is genuinely underneath will always come to the surface, and it's that you'll truly be judged upon. And to me, I still stick to my guns at this point, that a lot of it boils down to her insecurity, and also this thing of having to take Justin's movie from him, you know, identifying that this was going to be a valuable property and using those writers' strikes, that SAG strike that happened, as a period of time in which she concocted a way in which she was going to take his movie off him because she wanted it. Basically, she saw an opportunity to take it, to get that PGA producer credit in any which way possible, which in turn would give her future power. She saw the means, motive and opportunity to do that, and she wanted what the other people in her life had, like Taylor Swift, like Ryan Reynolds, her husband. She wanted that level for herself. But the thing is, when you get it in those means, in means of subterfuge and conning people and the rest of it, there is no value in it, there is no joy in it. And look what she's got herself into. She's created such a mess for herself that it's just highlighted every insecurity that she's ever been trying to cover up. You know, it's all coming out. There's not a person in this world that believes it. You know, we just had today that she's been named, is it Time, one of Time's top 100 influential people for 2025, that she's like been branded a titan by, you know, somebody that's involved with black rights. And it's like, well, what has Blake Lively got to do with that? And when you read the thing, it's like they donated $200,000 in 2019. It's like, well, what has that got to do with 2025? Surely if there was something more recent, you'd be quoting something more recent. What is she bringing to 2025? And so, of course, everybody straight away says, well, this is bought and paid for. The donation back then of $200,000 was kind of a guilt donation because it had all been blown up that they'd got married on a plantation, with no concept of what had happened there, and not worrying about what happened there on that plantation, but simply liking the style of the place, the look of the place, how grand it was. And again, that's superficial. It's so superficial. It doesn't reflect what that place truly is or what that place is about. And this is what happens when gaudiness and jewels and all the rest of it is covering up your insecurities, and you don't look deeper, and you don't look beyond things, and you don't look at the meaning of things, and you don't look at what you're doing to other people with your actions, and it's all coming home to roost, unfortunately. But I do try, from my point of view, to keep looking at it in not a malicious way towards Blake and Ryan. I mean, I kind of have a visceral reaction to Ryan Reynolds. I've just never particularly trusted him, I don't think, or been keen on him or liked his brand of humour. I don't like cruel humour or snarky humour. It's just not me. But even him, I just try to look at it as, what can we all learn from this? I truly feel like we're supposed to be looking at this and thinking, what can I examine about my own behaviour and my own ego and the way that I feel about what is owed to me, or what I should have, or what I should be able to take from somebody else because I don't feel that I can do it for myself? Because that's literally what she's done. I mean, she's told us time and time again now that she shows up and pretends that she's an actress and then steals control of other things from other people and wants that credit for it, which is basically what she's done with it. It Ends With Us and other projects. And sometimes people have just taken that on the chin, and sometimes, there's been stories that have added to her reputation as being difficult. But it just flags up that she doesn't feel like she has any confidence in doing something for herself from start to finish. She's not writing anything from scratch. She's not producing anything from scratch. She's not even being the costume director, if you like, for anything from scratch. What she does is comes in with her own agenda and takes over the work that other people and the groundwork that other people have already done. And then she tries to pass it off as her own, which again highlights this thing of, I'm not good enough, I can't do it from scratch, I have to take it over from somebody else. What she calls it is treasure hunting or cherry picking, whatever you want to call it, that she comes in, sees what everybody has done, thinks, oh, well, I'll do a bit of that in, I'll take that and I'll add a bit of that, I'll take that and I'll take a bit of that, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do the other. Well, that's not creativity. It's basically just a bit of editing what somebody else has done. And messing it up in some cases as well. It must have felt like an entirely defeating scenario for everybody that was in that workplace at that time. It must have been incredibly difficult, and I think we can see that because it actually physically made Justin Baldoni ill, a lot of it. And I think you can certainly tell by his pictures at the premiere that by that point he was utterly exhausted with everything, and even at that point he still had not a bad word to say about anybody. So yes, I'm still team Justin. But yeah, I did find it fascinating, this latest outfit, because it just highlighted to me in stunning, glaring ways, just there has to be a lot of distraction going on. When you look at Blake Lively, there's a lot of distraction going on. There's the elaborate hair, the elaborate outfit. There might be a big reveal to it. There'll be rings on most fingers. There'll be might be a Chanel watch and an armful of bangles as well. You know, when you look at how she styled that Isabella for the premiere of It Ends With Us, I don't know which city it was in, when she had Isabella in bangles up to around almost her elbows, and it looked really out of place on her. She made her look like a little girl dressing up, is what she did to her at that premiere. But I think if you go back and look at a lot of Blake's now, I think you can identify times where she looks like a little girl dressing up, and it is to cover that insecurity. I mean, if you look, she also wears a lot of really big jackets now, which is kind of the antithesis of what she needs, because she's already, you know, like a kind of like an Amazonian type lady, and I don't mean that in an insulting way, in a Taylor Swift way, like she's relatively tall and statuesque, and her shoulders are broad enough, and she's not dainty, you know what I mean? She's a woman, she's got a woman's body. She doesn't need to add bulk to herself, but it's almost like I need to make myself even more visible than everybody else that's here. So I'm going to actually expand on the size I already am. She's wearing a lot of really big trousers and big jackets, and it's like, what is going on? What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to prove? Why do you need to be more noticeable than anybody else in order to be relevant? And I think when you've got somebody that's little, like Anna Kendrick next to her, who even in heels like that is nowhere near the height of her, it's kind of stunningly obvious, you know, that how Blake is trying too hard, because Anna is quite minimal. So it kind of highlights it really. I think maybe that's why this latest outfit hit me. And the fact it was so black and there was the tights, you know, because Blake doesn't wear tights that often, I don't think. So it was like the boots, the tights, the what looks like a leather skirt, the over-the-top jacket, the hair that's like up here with the big bow on the back, the camera bag. It's like, oh, where do you want me to look? Is it a distraction, you know, or is it somebody that just can't say no to anything and always needs more to cover up the fact that she doesn't feel that great inside? And kind of, you know, like the commentators, like on YouTube and that, when they're getting a little bit cruel, this is kind of what I would like people to bear in mind, that no matter what you feel about what she's done or what Ryan's done, is that at heart, there are people there behind all of that that have got real problems in the mind, you know, that aren't happy people. They might present as happy people, but they're not truly happy people, not if they can do these kinds of things to people. And kind of to bear in mind, just to rise above a little bit, you know, and not get too cruel, and not to lower your standards, you know, because when you start projecting kind of nastiness onto other people, it just flags up that that is in you, really. So to try and extend some grace, really, even while commenting and commentating on this whole situation, just to kind of keep bringing it back to that. What can I learn? What is it telling me about me? Do I always need more of something? Do I need to take from somebody else in order to feel good about myself? That's what we should be learning, that what has God brought this scenario, if you like, into this world at this time in order to show us about ourselves. That is still my feeling on it. And actually it's quite helpful if you look at it in that way, because you don't get enraged in the same way about the injustice of it all. If you look at it in terms of, this is a very human, ego-based drama playing out. So what can I learn from it? And that's kind of still what I want people to be looking at this with, because then you don't, like I say, you don't feel that rage inside, and you're not getting mean and nasty. When you just keep, I always tell people and my clients to keep a curiosity in life. You know, they say curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity is one of the best things that you can keep in mind about your life in any given situation. Like when somebody attacks you, or when somebody tries to claim credit for your hard work, just ask yourself, what is this trying to tell me? You know, what does it say about them rather than what does it say about me? You know what I mean? what what is happening inside them, what empathy can I have for them, even maybe, because that in turn makes it easier for you to let go of and not hang on to resentment and anger, and all of those things that actually do you no credit and can actually lead to lifelong illness in you if you hang on to enough resentment and enough anger. So that's kind of my message today. But I will pop back again soon and talk about all of this, because there's more coming out all of the time. But thank you for watching if you stayed to the end. If you do want to talk to me about overcoming your own feelings of not being enough or low self-esteem, or not going after your own dreams and goals, you can always book a free call with me at charmedlifetherapy.co.uk/call, because I've got all manner of hypnotherapeutic techniques, including rapid transformational therapy, that can help with that, and I'm always happy to have that first conversation with you for free. Please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and thank you for watching and staying to the end. I will see you later.